Jack 3D. USP Labs released this pre-workout supplement around 2008, and it got popular fast. Gym-goers loved the intense energy it delivered. What was driving that effect was DMAA, short for 1,3-dimethylamylamine, a powerful stimulant that constricts blood vessels and spikes blood pressure. That combination is dangerous under physical stress. U.S. Army soldiers began dying during training runs, and investigations pointed to DMAA. In 2012, British runner Claire Squires collapsed and died near the finish line of the London Marathon. She had taken Jack 3D beforehand. The FDA had already been gathering reports and issued warnings that year, eventually pursuing enforcement action against DMAA products and pushing manufacturers to pull them. USP Labs reformulated Jack 3D without DMAA. The episode became a clear example of how an unregulated supplement ingredient can cause real fatal harm before anyone steps in to stop it. Xenadrine EX. Cytidine Technologies marketed this pill as a fat-burning powerhouse. The active ingredient was ephedra, a stimulant that raises heart rate, blood pressure, and body temperature. In theory, that means more calories burned. In practice, it also means serious cardiovascular stress. In February 2003, Baltimore Orioles pitcher Steve Beckler collapsed during spring training in Florida. He was 23 years old. He died the next day. The Broward County Medical Examiner concluded that Xenadrine EFX was a contributing factor. Beckler had been taking it while already dealing with mild heat and a history of blood pressure issues. The combination proved fatal. His death put ephedra directly in front of regulators. The FDA officially banned ephedra supplements in April 2004. It was the agency's first ever ban on a dietary supplement ingredient. Metabolife 356. This was one of the top-selling dietary supplements in America during the late 1990s, marketed as a weight loss and energy product. Its main active ingredient was ephedra. The problem wasn't just the product itself, it was what the company hid. Metabolife International told the FDA in 1999 that it had received no consumer complaints. That was false. The company actually had roughly 14,000 of them, describing heart attacks, strokes, seizures, and deaths. When those complaints finally surfaced in 2002, the fallout was significant. The FDA used that evidence to push forward an ephedra ban, which took effect in 2004. Company founder Michael Ellis was later convicted of making false statements to federal investigators. The case became a clear example of why supplement companies can't just police themselves. Ripped Fuel. This was Twinlab's flagship fat burner, and through the 1990s it was everywhere. Gyms, supplement shops, mail-order catalogs. The formula was simple and brutal. Ephedra and caffeine together. Ephedra speeds up the heart and raises blood pressure. Caffeine amplifies that effect. Stack them both, and you get a serious jolt to the cardiovascular system. People took it to lose weight and train harder. It worked, which is exactly why they kept buying it. But the same mechanism driving results was also straining hearts. The FDA received over 800 adverse event reports tied to ephedra products before banning the ingredient in 2004. At least 155 deaths were linked to ephedra broadly, with products like Ripped Fuel among the most widely used. The ban came too late for some, but it set a clear line for what supplement regulation could actually do. Yellow Jacket. Yellow Jacket was a small stimulant pill sold by NVE Pharmaceuticals out of New Jersey. It contained ephedra, a plant-based compound that raises heart rate and blood pressure. In September 2003, a 16-year-old Illinois high school student named Sean Riggins took one before football practice. He collapsed on the field and died. Riggins had no known heart condition. His family sued NVE, and the case drew national attention. Prosecutors also pursued criminal charges against NVE's owner. The FDA had been circling the ephedra issue for years, but cases like Riggins made it impossible to stall any longer. In April 2004, the agency banned ephedra entirely, the first time it had ever banned a dietary supplement ingredient. Yellow Jacket became one of the clearest examples of how a legal product could still kill someone. Stacker 2. NVE Pharmaceuticals sold Stacker 2 as a weight loss and energy supplement packed with ephedra, caffeine, and aspirin, a combination known as the ECA stack. It was one of the most widely recognized diet pills of the late 1990s and early 2000s. The problem was that ephedra pushed the cardiovascular system hard. Adverse event reports tied the product to heart attacks, strokes, and deaths. NVE faced waves of lawsuits, and the FDA repeatedly flagged the company for safety violations. When the federal ephedra ban took effect in April 2004, NVE didn't shut down. They reformulated Stacker 2 without ephedra and kept the brand alive. The name is still on store shelves today. That staying power says a lot about how brand recognition can outlast even serious legal and safety trouble. Hydroxycut. This weight loss supplement has been sold in the United States since the early 1990s, and it has a genuinely troubled history. The original formula relied on ephedra, a stimulant tied to heart attacks, strokes, and at least a handful of deaths. The FDA banned ephedra in supplements in 2004 and hydroxy. Cut reformulated. Problem solved, right? Not quite. In 2009, the FDA asked consumers to stop using hydroxycut products entirely after linking them to 23 cases of serious liver damage. One person died. Others needed liver transplants. The company pulled the products from shelves. Hydroxycut eventually came back with yet another new formula. It still sells today. The brand survived 2 separate safety crises that would have ended most products. That says a lot about how little oversight the supplement industry actually gets. Oxyalite Pro. This was a workout and weight loss supplement sold by USP Labs. In 2013, health officials in Hawaii started noticing something unusual. People were coming in with severe liver damage, and many of them had one thing in common. They were all taking Oxyalite Pro. Eventually, about 97 cases were tied to the product, along with at least 1 death and multiple liver transplants. Investigators traced the problem to an unlisted ingredient called ageline, a compound derived from a plant never before used in supplements and never safety tested for human consumption. USP Labs recalled the product, and in 2015, federal prosecutors indicted company executives for conspiracy and selling adulterated supplements. The case became a defining example of what can go wrong when untested ingredients end up in products sitting on store shelves. Craze. Driven Sports launched this pre-workout around 2012, and it sold extremely well. Users reported intense focus and energy that felt different from other supplements. The company called it revolutionary. What they did not mention was why. Independent researchers, including a team led by Peter Cohen at Harvard, tested Craze and found it contained N-alpha-DPA, a compound structurally similar to methamphetamine. It was never listed on the label. The FDA issued a warning in 2013, and Driven Sports eventually recalled the product. Matt Cahill, the man behind the formula, had a prior criminal conviction tied to another dangerous supplement ingredient. Several adverse health events were reported by users. Craze became a clear example of how a popular sports supplement could hide a controlled substance analog in plain sight while regulators scrambled to catch up. Hemo Rage Black. Nutrex research put this pre-workout on shelves when high-stimulant products were at their absolute peak. It contained DMAA, the synthetic stimulant derived from geranium oil, claims that sparked a major regulatory fight in the early 2000s. The formula hit hard. Users reported intense energy, sharp focus, and a strong cardiovascular kick. That last part is where things got serious. The FDA received dozens of adverse event reports tied to DMAA products during this period, including cases of hemorrhagic stroke and cardiac arrest. The agency began sending warning letters to manufacturers in 2012, yet Hemo Rage Black stayed available through much of that window. Nutrex eventually reformulated and moved on. But the product's shelf life during the crackdown became a textbook example of how slowly enforcement actually moved, and how long high-risk products could stay in consumers' hands. Mesomorph. A PS Nutrition's Mesomorph pre-workout became one of the more stubborn examples of a supplement company refusing to back down. After the FDA flagged DMAA as an unsafe food additive and pursued enforcement actions starting around 2012, most companies quietly pulled it. APS kept selling Mesomorph with DMAA anyway. The FDA eventually targeted the product directly, pushing APS into reformulating. Their solution was DMHA, also called Octodrin, a synthetic stimulant with a similar chemical profile to DMAA and very little human safety data behind it. The FDA has since flagged DMHA too, calling it unlawful in dietary supplements. Both compounds carry real cardiovascular risks, including elevated heart rate and blood pressure. Mesomorph essentially swapped one contested stimulant for another and kept moving product while regulators played catch-up. DNP supplements. 2,4-dinitrophenol is an industrial chemical originally used in dye manufacturing and explosives. In the 1930s, Stanford researchers discovered it caused rapid weight loss, and it briefly became a diet drug before the FDA banned it in 1938 after reports of deaths, blindness, and organ failure. DNP works by disrupting how cells produce energy, forcing them to release it as heat instead. That sounds useful until your core temperature hits 40 or 41 degrees Celsius, and your body simply cooks from the inside. There is no antidote. Deaths have included young bodybuilders and athletes who bought pills online. UK authorities linked at least 33 deaths to DNP between 2007 and 2020. It keeps circulating because it genuinely burns fat fast, and that's enough for some people to take the risk.